Konnichiwa, Dr. Braces here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today we're going to answer kind of a fun question. It's why do the assistants do most of the work in the orthodontist office? How come I don't see the orthodontist very much? So that's our topic for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in. So the big question people sometimes have is, when I go see my orthodontist, he or she maybe spends 1 or 2 minutes with me, and then the assistant does everything else. So am I getting my money's worth? Am I getting ripped off? That's something that I think pops into patients' mind quite often. An orthodontist's biggest asset is actually their knowledge, and it's their mind, right? So keep in mind that an orthodontist went to 4 years of bachelor's degree, 4 years of dental school, and then an extra 2 to 3 years of orthodontic residency to get a specialty training or certificate. So there's a lot of academics involved to become an orthodontist. What an orthodontist is responsible for in your treatment is, one, figuring out what are the problems, what's the biggest issues, and two, how do we fix those problems that's going to be best for you. The best orthodontists in the world cater a unique plan for each individual. The ones that do cookie cutter orthodontics, in other words, they do the same thing for every patient regardless of the problem, those usually don't get the best results. And so you want to find an orthodontist that's catering to your individual needs. So that's the biggest responsibility of the orthodontist. So when you come into my office, the time that you're going to see me the most, or when we are going to spend the most time together, is in your consultation, where we're looking at your pictures, we're looking at your x-rays, we're going over all the problems, we're looking at your soft tissue, your profile, your facial features, and we're trying to figure out, one, what is good that we want to keep and we want to preserve? And two, what is not so good that we want to change? And how do we change those things to make you look the best that you possibly can and give you the best function that you possibly can? In other words, that you're chewing the right way and your teeth are functioning properly and your bite is right. So that's the orthodontist role. Now, most orthodontists are going to have what we call orthodontic assistants, and that means the assistant is going to come in and help the orthodontist execute that plan. And so, for example, when you come into my office, after we do that consultation appointment, I go back into my computer and I type in the treatment plan. Step by step, this is how I want to treat this case. So my assistants now have access to that plan, and their job is going to be to help me execute that plan. So when you come see me for your braces appointment, I'm going to help you put the braces on. We'll get the braces in the right spot in the position. And then when you come in for your adjustments, I'm going to come in, I'm going to evaluate how the plan is going, see if there's anything that we need to change or anything that we need to pivot. And then I'll tell the assistants, this is what I want to do today. And they're the ones essentially executing that plan for me. The reason why that's important is our goal, any orthodontist goal, is to create as many wonderful smiles in the world that we possibly can. Because our mission or our vision at Okuda Orthodontics is we change lives one smile at a time. And the more lives that we can change, the better off the world is, because people are smiling confidently and having confidence in themselves. So if I'm doing everything that entails a treatment, changing every single wire, tying in every single tie, taking every single impression, doing every single Invisalign scan, then I am not utilizing my best asset, which is my knowledge, right? And B, I'm not able to see as many patients and change as many lives. And so that's why we have the assistants come in and they do a lot of the hands-on work in a case. The simplest way to think of it, and I made a little checklist here, anything that is going to make a permanent change to a tooth, the assistant can't make that call or that decision. That has to come from the orthodontist. So let's just go with the example of braces, right? You come into an appointment, you're getting your wires changed. The assistant can change the wires and they can put the new wires on, but they cannot make the decision of which wire is going in that day. That has to come from the orthodontist, because that will make a permanent change. Impressions. So taking molds of your teeth or scans of your teeth. The assistant can take the molds, they can take the scans, but they can't design the retainers. They can't design the appliances. That's something the orthodontist has to do, because that will make a permanent change. X-rays. Taking radiographs or cone beams. Ours is a 3D scan in my office. The assistants can take the 3D scans, but they cannot look at those scans and diagnose a problem. That's something the orthodontist has to do. Fitting appliances. So the assistant can actually glue the appliances in, teach you how to use them, what's the proper way to take care of them. but they can't decide what appliance is going in. For the best example is in an expander, right? That's where we fit an appliance that you turn to expand your upper arch. They can glue that in, but they can't say how many turns you need to do. That has to come from the orthodontist. This is a fun one. Cleaning glue off of teeth. So every state is going to be a little bit different. In Nevada, the assistants can use what's called a slow speed handpiece, and that means it rotates only at about 4,000 to 5,000 RPM. An orthodontist or a dentist can use one that rotates anywhere from 200 to 500,000 RPM. And so when I go remove glue, I'm using what's called a high speed handpiece. Why can I use that? Because it has the potential to damage the tooth if you're not careful. Slow speed handpiece isn't rotating fast enough, doesn't have a potential to damage teeth. So that's why the assistants can use the slow speed handpiece. Keep in mind, if it's going to make a permanent change to the tooth, like a high speed handpiece has the potential to do, the assistant can't use it. We already discussed this one, but the Invisalign can take the scan for the Invisalign. They can transfer that scan into the Invisalign software, but they cannot digitally move the teeth, or at least approve it. So I think some orthodontists do have their assistants move the teeth, and then they'll go in and review and finalize the case. I move every tooth in my office, right? So once the scans are in Invisalign software, the orthodontist has to make the call on where the teeth go and how they're going to finish, what position they're going to finish in. Bonding attachments for Invisalign. So Invisalign, you're always going to have composite attachments bonded to some of the teeth. The assistant can bond those attachments, but what they can't decide is which teeth those attachments go on and what the design of those attachments will look like. That has to come from the orthodontist. All right, showing patients how to wear rubber bands. So the assistant can teach a patient where to put the rubber bands on the braces or on the Invisalign, show them how to do it, teach them how to do it. They cannot make the decision though where those rubber bands go and which teeth they attach to. That has to come from the orthodontist. So there's a lot of things that the assistant can do. There's other things that the orthodontist has to do. And so that part's very important as far as the flow of the office. My assistants are very, very high trained. And it's funny because this is a true story, because the assistants are oftentimes, after a certain point, the things like changing wires, changing color ties, doing all the things that the assistant does, they're actually going to surpass the orthodontist in those skill sets. And so sometimes I'll sit down because we're really busy, they need my help. I'll sit down and I'll be the one changing the wire. And the patient will say to me something like, "Ooh, I'm lucky I get the doctor today." And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, not so much, because like my lead assistant is fantastic. She's been doing this for 20 years, and I can guarantee you she is going to do that faster and more gentle than I am, because I don't do it every day. Again, my job in the office is to diagnose, come up with the plan, and tell the assistants how to execute that plan. But they're the ones that are actually doing the groundwork where the rubber hits the road. And so in more cases than not, an experienced assistant is actually going to be better at some of those procedures than the orthodontist is. So not always best to have the orthodontist working on you. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm so grateful for my assistants. Again, they're fantastic. They're highly trained. And I would trust them to do any adjustment on me. And probably I would prefer them over me in a lot of situations. So keep those kind of things in mind when you're visiting the orthodontist. But that's how that flow works. So that's why when you go visit your orthodontist, the assistant does most of the work. Number one, they're going to be better at it than the orthodontist is. Number two, it opens up the orthodontist to utilize their most important skill set, which is their knowledge. And three, it means that each office can see more patients, change more lives, and create more beautiful smiles in the world. One of the reasons we did this video is because I feel like in a lot of cases, I come in and I take all the glory, right? When a patient gets their braces off, for example, I take all the glory and they're like, "Oh, Dr. Okuda, thank you so much." But I like to remind my patients that it takes an army, right? And I was definitely a key component in the factor of getting them from taking their smile that they weren't happy with to turning it into something they love. But without my entire team, my assistants, my treatment coordinator, my front desk office scheduling appointments, it doesn't happen, right? And so every single person in the office is vital to the success of that patient's treatment, that patient's experience, and their journey to achieving that smile that they dreamed of. Culture is very important to me in my office. We only want to have the most highest quality people in the office that want to be there, that love to be there, because that part is essential in making sure that our patients have a good journey to achieving their smile of their dreams. So that's important to remember, that again, it's not just the orthodontist. Every single person has a role, and every person is critical in giving you that smile that you want. So be sure to not only thank your orthodontist, but thank the assistants, thank the front office staff, because it takes an entire team to create that smile. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this video. I hope that was helpful and helped you understand how an orthodontics office kind of functions and flows. If you had an assistant teach you how to put your rubber bands on, but you don't remember where to place them or where they're supposed to go, don't worry, we've got a video just for you. So click that link, and thank you again for tuning in. Remember, smiles change lives, so keep smiling.